this and hesitated.
I'm playing Roblox.
For the first
Right
time,
now, we're
he
going to
saw
put
how
after I
translation
play
could become
Roblox.
transformation.
But
In
then,
the margin, he
oh,
added a note that still survives in fragments today. He wrote, "The meaning is changed, but the spirit remains." Some believe this letter was part of a larger correspondence between Zoroastrian exiles and Christian mystics, a hidden dialogue that kept the philosophy of Asher alive within the church's own walls. The guardians of fire were the priests of Yazd, tending the eternal flames that had burned since before the fall of Persia. The children of water were monks of the Mediterranean coast, keepers of baptismal springs and healing fonts. Both saw purity as sacred, and both knew their symbols came from the same source. The letter urged unity, not conversion. It spoke of wisdom as a river, flowing from one vessel to another, never lost, only reshaped. When the Inquisition later searched the monastery, the parchment vanished, but copies had already been made. One surfaced in the
I'm supposed to mistake my room.
in Bombay.
And why I was
Carried the same
thinking that
closing line.
the
The fires
brand
still
of it,
the water still
the
sings.
flavor this.
We have not forgotten.
Yeah,
Those words echo
guys.
quiet defiance across centuries of division. They remind us that no empire, no doctrine, no wall of language can fully sever truth from itself. It always finds a way back through the cracks. In the silence of Yazd's fire temples, the flames still sway like breathing, and somewhere beyond deserts and oceans, the children of water still listen. The letter was real, not because of ink or paper, but because its message still moves between us. In the spring of 1978, a linguist named Dr. Elias
I'm not
Hall
talking, by the
stood
way.
before a university lecture hall in Oxford.
Juggernaut, please, I want to be the Juggernaut. I want to be the Juggernaut. I think that's how you pronounce it.
And after
Juggernaut.
10 years of study, he had come to a conclusion that few wanted to hear. The moral vocabulary of Christianity, he said, did not
Okay,
begin in
now I
Jerusalem,
would forward this
it
again.
began in Persia. His research
Boom.
traced the structure
Okay,
of Christian
yes,
ethics back to Avestan texts written more than 1,000 years before Christ. The familiar phrases of good and evil, salvation and sin, judgment and redemption, all had linguistic and conceptual parallels in the Avesta. The threefold moral formula of Zoroastrianism, good thoughts, good words, good deeds, had simply been rephrased, woven into new scripture, and presented as revelation. It was not accusation, it was history. But history, especially sacred history, is fragile. Within weeks, his department received letters. Some were curious, others indignant. His peers praised his method but questioned his wisdom. Privately, a colleague warned him that certain donors were unethical. The church had funded his institute for decades. If his findings gained attention, that funding would vanish. Dr. Varma refused to retract his work. He believed truth should not depend on comfort.
5,
In an interview, he
4,
said, "If we can
3,
trace
2,
our morality to its
1,
oldest roots, we see
0.
that it belongs to no one. It is shared." A month later, his grant renewal was denied. His access to archives was suspended for administrative review.
This is
Students were reassigned. At the end of the year, he was teaching part-time at a small college far from the city. His papers were never formally disproven. They were simply forgotten. Yet colleagues
okay.
in one essay,
Ah!
Sermon on the Mount to the Gardeners of Zoroaster, showing nearly identical themes. The inheriting the earth mirrored Zoroaster's
I think I want to say, by the way.
in Asher. The call to forgive enemies echoed the Avesta's command to answer hatred with truth. Even the imagery of light overcoming darkness had travelled the same road from Persia to Palestine to Rome. Doctor, Varma saw it not as theft, but as inheritance, a long chain of wisdom passed from one world to another. But such unity threatened the idea of exclusivity. If goodness had always existed, revelation lost its monopoly. The peer reviews of his final paper were polite, even complimentary, but none were published. In the margins of his notebook, he wrote a single line: "They cannot refute the light, so they close their eyes." trying to give the world back its memory. Maybe that is what truth always does. It refuses to die, even when the scholars who guard it are made to disappear. In the corridors beneath Vatican City, beyond the rooms open to scholars and the guarded aisles of manuscripts, there is said to be a door without a label. Behind it, rumor claims, lies the Persian rune. It does not appear on official maps in the Apostolic Archive, and yet fragments of internal memos mention it by name. A secure chamber, equipped with climate controls, sealed cabinets, and storage for materials of delicate origin. Only a few librarians are authorized to enter, and their names are never released. The story first surfaced in the 1950s, when a visiting historian noticed a gap in the catalogue numbers. Between two recorded collections, one on Mesopotamian tablets and another on early Christian codices, there was a blank space. The index simply jumped forward, skipping a section labeled Persica. When he asked about it, the archivist smiled and said that no longer existed, but later,
Wait, okay, get on the boot
the
tail.
historian found a line written in another hand and a different ink. Persica
Whoa.
vault humidity adjusted to 30%. The note was dated in the same month. It circulated among researchers who study ancient religions. They say the
Right.
vault holds manuscripts
I'm
taken
gonna
from
use
Persia
one
during the
power.
Crusades.
What is?
Fragments once believed lost in the fires of
What?
Persepolis.
I did not swim!
Details of early cosmologies. Others claim they contain translations comparing
Wow.
Zoroastrian and Christian doctrines.
I'm
The
thinking.
Vatican neither
Oh, yeah.
confirms nor denies it.
That's
When
it?
asked
Okay, I
if
got a
officials
dot.
insist
Yeah.
materials of known origin are properly kept.
Hey! Why did it I horse.
The archive. A few technicians who have worked nearby mention faint writing on the door's edge, Latin words almost invisible beneath decades of paint. Lux occulta, hidden light, perhaps coincidence, perhaps confession. Theories
10,
abound.
9,
One suggests
8,
that the room was
7,
created in the
6,
17th century
5,
to isolate
4,
texts considered heretical
2,
but too
1,
valuable to destroy.
0.
Another claims it was built during World War II to protect sensitive
Okay,
collections
let's
from bombing.
do double.
Whatever its
And use
purpose,
one
the
power.
Persica rune remains off limits.
I just got a double. Okay. Hey,
Two
Robert.
centuries
Wait,
layered
wait.
over itself,
Okay.
names crossed out, access codes changed. It is as if history
Okay, I'm through.
not on paper, but in air.
Yes!
Some
What?
the vault contains a complete copy of the Ordinances of Fire. Others, that it holds the Jesuit astronomers' missing charts from the 17th century. No one knows for certain. Perhaps it is empty. Perhaps that is the point.
I want you to go to your radio, by the way.
But when archivists walk those lower halls, they say the air changes near them. Cool, sharp, as if a vacuum
Oh, 5,
behind the screen.
4, 3,
The vault has no key.
2,
At least nothing
1,
opens from outside.
0.
If the thought
Please, please.
reminding us that truth, once locked away, has a strange way
Okay,
of
now
waiting.
can
There
I
is a
see?
story told in the
I
old
did not
Persian temples
so.
about a boy who asked the
Okay.
priest why he worshipped fire. The priest smiled and said,
Hey, okay.
"I did not understand that he would one day, because the secret of the sacred flame was never about firewood
Oh.
or smoke. It was about
Okay.
awareness."
Yeah.
Zarathustra's
No. Yes.
The fire that burns in the temple is only a reflection of the one that burns in you. The universe
That's how this
is made
is.
of light and shadow.
Okay, he's got it. Not got me.
Every
Oh, God,
interaction
God,
feeds
God,
one
God.
or the other. The purpose of life is not to be to the flame, but to become it. That was the core of his message, and it terrified those who built power of obedience. If every person carried divine fire within, no one needed to
Yeah.
borrow it. No priest could sell it. No king could claim to control it. The sacred fire was conscience itself. Not a voice from above, but the quiet clarity that glowed when you chose truth over deception.
I think maybe it's right. So I would just go to 1% power because no one's gonna knock me, right? Yes, no one will knock me. Okay, take maybe. Because better than I can make this. That can be so. I would just go there. Okay. But what is it going the same way? What did I? Well, I thought he was gonna knock me out the broken. Wait, this is broken. Wait, this is just a glitch.
That is the true initiation, the one the world keeps forgetting.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Me.
Nothing in the world can extinguish it, because that fire is not borrowed. It is you. It always begins with fragments.
I get
A page found in a desert cave. A burned line in a monastery ledger. A name scratched into a stone that should not exist. For centuries these clues lay scattered, dismissed as coincidences, too far apart to mean anything. But now, piece by piece,
Okay, I just
never about worship. It was about living in alignment with Usher, they called it the order of reality. To live in Usher was to live awake, to see the world not as divided between sacred
Yes.
and ordinary, but as one continuous field of
noble
choice.
one thing.
Every honesty
Yeah.
fed the light, every deceit dimmed it. The
Yes.
secret that survived the
Yes.
centuries
Oh.
was not how to pray, but how to remember that every
But-
thought, every deed mattered.
Why just one?
Liberation.
Wait, I almost
When people understood,
I almost win the game.
temples lost their monopoly, thrones began to shake, so the story was buried. The Magi were recast as mystics. Their science was renamed superstition. Their language
Why we
was
just
fascism.
go there?
But light has a habit of
I
finding
got an
cracks.
idea. They go there.
Was built over fire temples,
What?
in alchemical diagrams, in forgotten gospels.
It's just
The same message brings us back to life.
Oh wait, I think maybe I'm gonna think that
Only today,
you are.
across
Okay.
time, thinkers
see
and
my
seekers rediscover it without
Oh, what
realizing
did I just knock
rediscovered the same thought.
on?
And the divine is not waiting at the end of
Unexpected,
life,
but okay.
reflected in every moment you choose honesty over fear. The dawn they could not stop is not a single event. It is happening slowly, through awareness returning. A historian in Paris.
Okay, got the end of video now.
Christian ethics.
Because I'm
Scientist
now
in
at
Tehran
base, and
studies
since I'm
ancient
doing an
Persian
online game, and then there's no
early
internet
environmental
in the
engineering.
basement, so
Artists
end this end of
build
video.
symbols in new light.
Bye.